Hey there. If it's 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, it must be time for This Week in Waukesha. I am your host, Alderman for Life, Don Brown, coming to you live from the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown. That's right, the Mar-a-Lago of the Midwest, also known as the Walk Radio Studios here at 217 Wisconsin Avenue, here in the NAMI building, around the corner from Theodora Humans Park. Proud of our suffragette heritage here in the Shaw. I am very pleased to have back as my guest U.S. Senate candidate Pete Pekarsky. Pete, say hello.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Great to have you. And real quick, Pete was kind of fill in for my new good friend Tony Marquez, who was going to be my guest today. But Tony unfortunately had some family matters to attend to. But he does want to come back, so look for Tony. Those that were tuning in to hear and see Tony, look forward to seeing Tony in June. He does want to be on the show and tell you what Waukesha means to him and his plans for the future. So, but real quick before we begin with Pete, some big news. Big congratulations, and I think it's one of the reasons Pete came to town is to the Waukesha South esports team on winning the Wisconsin State Championship last week. Undefeated season, and to celebrate This Week in Waukesha's guest next week is their coach, Andrew M. Yip, who is also a math teacher at Waukesha South, and Andrew's going to try to get some of the teammates to come join us next Saturday. So look forward to that. And then in other sports too, our Waukesha South girls soccer team beat the Comets of Delavan on Thursday, 2-0. They play at McGuanago next week, and then our Waukesha South varsity boys baseball team was victorious last night against visiting Deerfield High Demons of Dane County. That's where you are, Jason. Big win, especially after suffering a tough loss to the Canisius Crusaders of Catholic Memorial. I believe that was 9-4 on I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday night. But big shout out also to the Waukesha JV South baseball team and their 3-game winning streak with wins over Racine Lutheran, the Canisius Crusaders of Catholic Memorial High, and also Dane County's Deerfield High. Logan Dable logged a no-hitter in an 18-0 win against Racine Lutheran. And then in last night's game against Deerfield, Evan Stout hit an in-the-park homer at Frame Park. So real privilege, real joy to be part of that moment. And then also, too, going back to the varsity against Catholic Memorial, Eric Teagues, who's now batting, had his first hit of the season, and it was an RBI single. And so really excited to see Eric's progress is continuing after everything that happened last week of the Christmas parade and last November. But this is a good lead-in with Pete because for me, I've come full circle. I guess a lot of us have. I was in that Christmas parade at the front last November. I didn't witness any of the atrocities. But and then just this time last week, my hometown in Buffalo, New York, witnessed a horrendous racially motivated attack by a confused young man, and and it seems like it's happening everywhere. We talk about 6 degrees of separation. Now it's just like 6 degrees of violence and the mindless menace of violence, as one of my role models used to call it, and. Pete, I know it's part of your message and what you're trying to do in your campaign. Can you talk a little bit about, because obviously you have to be obviously very affected, disgusted by what's going on. And, what would you do as our U.S. Senator to try to address the violence that's going on in our country?
I am very saddened by it. This is tragic, to say the very least. We're going to have to work together in various ways to try and reduce the circumstances which lead to this, which lead to the there are various things going on which may contribute to this, and to the extent those occurrences can be decreased and people can be encouraged to reason together, to respect each other, to act in a reasonable manner. Has got to happen. A lot of that has got to come out of each of the communities. It is unfortunately not something that can be legislated in the United States Congress, but there's a lot of that that's got to happen to the extent that making funds available to address causes of violence, roots of violence, to encourage people to respond to very difficult situations in a nonviolent manner, that may help to the extent funds that can be available to provide the mental health resources that are needed in a number of areas and just aren't there.
Thanks.
Yeah,
And I'm glad
that's something that can be
that.
done.
Yeah, because again, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so I'm glad you brought that up. Our guest last week was Mary Madden, who's the executive director of NAMI, and we were talking about kind of normalizing our understanding of mental health and really breaking down the stigma that still surrounds that. And yeah, again, with some of the violence, there's some mental health issues behind that. But there's also disinformation that's just feeding on people that, again, feeding on people's hatred and fears. And how do you as a leader propose to address that, especially when there's people in our Congress that are either buying into these things like replacement theory or they're definitely exploiting it?
You have to stand up to it, as far as I'm concerned, and tell the truth. And every time somebody says something that is just totally wrong, flat out lie, somebody's got to stand up and say, that is wrong, and here's why. And whether that person is on the floor of the Senate or the House or on a cable network or on an over-the-air network, somebody's got to stand up and say, this is flat out wrong. And tell people, this is incorrect. Do not act on it. Check for yourself. You can see that what you're being fed is just flat out incorrect.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you being back. And for those that weren't here, Pete was on the show back in February, and we were really excited to have him because it seems like the candidates with the most money are the ones getting the most attention. But here we have a gentleman that if he were to put all the degrees at the end of his name, you'd be reading the alphabet. And then he's also got an extraordinary career in intelligence and U.S. security. And just, if you don't mind, just giving a little recap here for our listeners.
Sure. The background is I got a couple degrees from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. One of them is in electrical engineering. Got a law degree from Case. I was
Case Western in Cleveland,
Case
right?
Western Reserve University in Cleveland, right? The law school there. Because of the training I had and education I had at MIT with someone who had advised, I think it was 6 or 7 secretaries of defense and 5 presidents in a row for 20 years on various issues related to nuclear weapons. I was a civilian consultant to the Chief of Naval Operations of the United States Navy on issues of strategic nuclear forces and platforms, and to the Director of Naval Intelligence on matters of intelligence analysis, which has given me a substantial amount of insight into current events, both right now and over the last, ever since I've had that experience.
Okay.
And I've followed things in that field.
Appreciate it, yeah. So, and then you did some work with CNN, correct? And I'm sorry if I missed that.
Oh, the CNN. That was it wasn't work with CNN. I mean, at one point I was a White House correspondent, but I think the CNN clip you're talking about, people can find it on YouTube. It was the debate for the people who were running to be chair of the Democratic National Committee. I was one of the candidates, and I was asked a question which was along the lines of Donald Trump says something or other, and like there were extra voters, and all of this might lead to more laws requiring voter ID. And the final bottom line question was, what's wrong with voter ID laws? And I said, so I wanted to make certain that I was hearing the question right, because it was a pretty obvious answer. So, and the person asking the question said, yeah, what's wrong with voter ID laws? And what I said was, and the room pretty much just exploded in applause. Yeah, after I got done, what I said was, the problem with voter ID laws is that those that exist are by and large a violation of the United States Constitution. And what's going on here is that the Republican Party is disenfranchising people because of the color of their skin, or trying to. And that's something that we have to avoid. That is, everybody is entitled to vote, and everybody's entitled to have that vote counted as cast.
Yeah, thank you. And and there are those that believe that it should be based on whether or not you own property or those types of things. And what's your response to that? I know what mine is.
My response is that's not in the Constitution.
Yeah.
And the other thing I said, in terms of calling people out when they're uttering falsehoods, one of the falsehoods that Donald Trump was offering at that time was, well, there were an extra 3 million voters, which was flat out wrong. And I said then, and you can see it on the YouTube video, If Mr. Trump has proof of a crime, he ought to get sworn in, take the stand, and say, okay, here are the names of the 3 million people I know about personally who voted in this election. But he hasn't done that and couldn't do it because those people didn't exist.
They don't exist. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, and switching gears for a second is obviously nobody's happy with our gas prices, and of course it's in past administrations it's always, you know, the first finger is pointed at the White House or the president and or our leadership, and you know what's your response to that, or how do you field a question or an opinion like that?
The president doesn't control the economy or gas prices, in particular gas prices. I mean, things have gone, and whether prices should be as high as they are is a matter for the Antitrust Division of the United States Department of Justice, and I hope they'll look at it. But I don't find the price of a barrel of oil has gone up. When the price of the barrel of oil goes up, the price of a gallon of gas at your local gas station goes up also. But that's not something that's controlled by the President of the United States.
Thank you. Yeah. So stick around. We have a little bit more with Pete Pekarsky, and again here in This Week in Waukesha, we believe in making America better than ever was, is giving our candidates a level playing field, and you really should pay attention to what Pete Pekarsky is all about. So stick around for more. This Week in Waukesha continues. Okay, we're back This Week in Waukesha with our guest, U.S. Senate candidate Pete Pekarsky. Pete, we're really glad to have you back, and also just arrived in the studio, back from the farmers market, is our new downtown 11th District Alderperson Alicia Helbenslavin. She'll be coming on after Pete, and before we begin with Pete, too, I want to let everyone know too, next week's show we do have the esports champion coach Andrew Yep on from Waukesha South, but we also want to give people a chance to, if there's a loved one that they lost in service to our country, you know, for Memorial Day weekend, we encourage you to call in and give it, say that loved one's name and maybe share a memory. We'd love to have you, love to hear from you here on the show, here on the Shaw. So, Pete, since you were on last in February, a lot's happened in this country. We know Russia invaded the Ukraine. We know a letter got circulated from the Supreme Court about overturning Roe v. Wade. And let's start with, history is moving fast. Politics are moving fast, and one of these is and you've been very outspoken about your platform on pro-choice. Let's start with that real quick, and just kind of a brief statement on
Roe v. Wade.
Yes.
Yeah. People realized when that opinion leaked on May 2nd that there was about to be a big problem. I realized it back on February 28th when I ordered up 200 spots a month in this state, saying that if I'm in the Senate, I am voting to codify Roe v. Wade. I mean, it's as simple as that. That ad, I think, was on WAUK, among other stations. And
sure.
That's my position. Yeah. That's what should happen.
Sure. And what do you think about Senator Johnson's response to all of this?
Senator Johnson doesn't seem to be too supportive of women or the autonomy of women and girls, or them obtaining the health care that they need and the other attention that they need. I am. And I think it's time for all of us to be that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So I have Pete's card here, and it's pekarsky4wisconsin.com is the campaign site. Check that out. PECKARSKY for Wisconsin.com. But on the back of Pete's card he has basically his platform: protecting our democracy, universal health care, universal broadband, supporting union jobs, sustainable agriculture, affordable education, ban systemic racism, climate action, justice for veterans, end foreign wars, anti-corruption, stop wealth inequality. There's a lot going on there. Do you have a priority, for any of these? Do you for these items? Like I said, it's quite a shopping list. What would you, as our senator, what would you plan on going after first, or how would you approach all of these issues?
The priority is protecting our democracy. Unless we protect our democracy and elect the people who are going to represent us and do what should be done for the people of this country, we're not going to get any of the other 11 issues. We're not going to get universal health care as a basic right. Mm-hmm. We're not going to codify Roe v. Wade. We're not going to do our very best to end systemic racism. We're not going to have sustainable agriculture, which is, a critical concern for the farmers and the people who depend on farmers. And the people who depend on farmers are everybody in this country, because everybody has to eat. Yeah. And we're not. We have to support and put the right people in office to support the workers and unions of this country so they get a fair shake. There are federal laws protecting them. Sometimes they're enforced, sometimes less so. And it's time to do an awful lot to make certain that the people in Washington, the Department of Labor, the Department of Justice, and the National Labor Relations Board make sure that there is a compliance with the law across this country, whether it's an organizing campaign or anything else. That's what, and we've got to put the people in the Congress to make that happen. In addition, to keeping somebody in the White House who is totally sympathetic and totally on board with protecting the rights of all Americans.
Sure. If you don't mind, what specifically would you have in mind for stopping or curbing wealth inequality?
For starters, there is private equity people are allowed to pay taxes on something called this is pretty complicated, on something called carried interest at roughly a 15% rate. Mm-hmm. If you got a bad back and you're standing up cooking hamburgers 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, or digging ditches, or you're a neurosurgeon in an operating room, you're paying a much higher tax rate in general. Mm-hmm. That's got to go. These men and women, mainly men, are making billions of dollars, and they got to be taxed at a reasonable rate. That's start there. There are a whole bundle
taxes,
fair taxes. Yeah. There are a whole bundle of other things. It gets pretty complicated real fast in the tax code and elsewhere that have got to get changed to try and reduce wealth inequality. The way in which our laws have been twisted to put that money into the top 1% of this country. It's time to put it to the benefit of the entire country, all 100% of us.
Sure. Well, good. No, I appreciate that answer. And, justice for veterans, again, as we head towards Memorial Day, could you talk about that for a quick moment?
Yeah, it's our obligation to support the veterans throughout their lives. They were there, they defended this country, and it's our obligation to get them the medical care, whether it's physical issues, mental health issues, whatever it is, it's our obligation to support them and to support them promptly. There should not be long waits to get attention at a VA hospital or from a VA doctor. We've got to work things out to get our veterans the care they need when they need it, not 3, 4, 5 months down the line. That is one of the things that's got to be done. It's one of the things I'm looking at.
Sure.
Quick follow-up on that, Don.
Thanks, Jason.
Is really the Veterans Mental Health Services. Talking about Mental Health Month, too. Really key, and that's a big lagging area.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for throwing that in, Jason. And then we have 2 minutes for our next break, but I wanted to let Pete's looking for signatures to secure his name on the ballot. What do people do?
If you want, just... the nomination papers are available in various places. If you want to, just send an email to info@pekarskyforwisconsin.com. It's on the website, pekarskyforwisconsin.com, and say, I'd like a set of nomination papers. We'll get you a PDF file. You can print it out, sign it. You can circulate your own signature. Basically, you fill out this form. As you're signing to put my name on the ballot, down below you certify, you circulate it, mail it back to it. The address is on the form. It's in Milwaukee. We got to get the original ink paper back to us, but we'd really appreciate it. That's what can be done. Thank you very much, Don. Thank you very much.
Pete, thanks for stopping by. Good luck with the rest of the campaign trail. Stick around, folks. Our next guest is our new downtown alderperson, I call Alder Dude, Alicia Halbenslaven from the 11th District. This Week in Waukesha continues. Do not go away.
Thanks very much.
This Week in Waukesha continues. Welcome back. Thanks again for Pete Pekarsky coming out, U.S. Senate candidate. Pete actually brought me some coffee and some granola bars, so a little helped out with a late breakfast there. So Pete's on his way out, but now filling his seat is our brand new downtown 11th District alderperson, the Right Honorable Alicia Halbenslavin. 100,000 welcomes, Alicia. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. How's the farmers market?
It was awesome. The rain has not destroyed anyone's plans as of yet, and it looks like the sun might be coming out. So I think it might be okay through noon, hopefully.
After this, I'm driving to Janesville for a softball tournament, my daughter's softball tournament. So hopefully we'll have nice weather down there in the land of Paul Ryan.
Fingers crossed for you.
Yeah. So you've been, you were inaugurated, I guess, in April, the second session?
That's correct, yes.
After I was ceremoniously, no, it was a very nice send-off they gave me. So thank you to Mayor Riley and staff for a good send-off. But so you've got 2-3 meetings under your belt?
3, yep, and some committee meetings, of course.
Yes. And what committees are you on?
So the big ones are building and grounds. So, if you are looking for new signage or you're worried that parking isn't quite right, that's where you would head. I'm also on the library board. And so I did have a library board meeting, and they've got a lot of cool stuff going on over there.
Absolutely. So we had Bruce Gay on the show a couple weeks ago, the director of libraries, and that was fantastic. It's really a tourist attraction, I think. People should check out our wonderful library system and our especially our main library here in Cutler Park. So, but how's everything going?
Good. Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. So I know Bruce was here and talking about the library. They're still trying to raise that last little bit of money for that capital campaign for all those amazing renovations. But in addition to that, I know that there's some other stuff that people have brought to me that are concerns. There is a new ordinance that's being proposed. It'll actually be on the agenda at the Ordinance and Licensing Committee on Monday. That's at 6 p.m. at City Hall.
And what's that on again? I'm sorry.
That's going to be for the sale of puppies, kittens, and rabbits.
Oh, yeah. That's been a big issue.
Yes. It has been a big issue, and a lot of people have a lot of opinions on that. And what I want to do is just encourage people to come to the meeting. There is a public comment section. The meeting is open to the public. So anybody that has an opinion should definitely show up and make your voice heard. That's a great space for people to engage with their local government. Yes,
absolutely. I strongly encourage that as well. And I feel bad because I haven't been to any meetings since I've been now on this side of the table. But I'm working on starting a neighborhood association, so you will see you'll see more of me at the council and committee meetings. But one thing I just saw on Fox 6 Milwaukee, it was a week ago today about Habitat for Humanity's. They're doing a big neighborhood build on Grandview Boulevard. And they're looking to the city to consider $1 million proposal from the American Rescue Plan Act funds. Has that come across the ledger yet on City Council, on any of the agendas, or?
Yes, so it has come up at the recent Finance Committee meeting. There was a whole presentation about some of the suggestions and recommendations for the use of the ARPA funds, and that was included in that discussion. Nothing's been decided on that, so no action has been taken. But that project is moving forward, and I'm really encouraged by that. I love the idea of affordable housing here in Waukesha, and breaking down that barrier to home ownership.
Sounds great. So you do support what's going on then?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a big proponent of new urbanism. I kind of like what I see so far.
Yeah.
From the renderings and what's taking shape. So
yeah, I think overall it's got a lot of support from the council. The project itself, in terms of the ARPA dollars, that has yet to be determined. But I think overall the project is, it's moving forward. People are very supportive of it. We did just discuss it at the most recent council meeting, and I don't think I heard anybody say that they were against the project. So.
Sounds great. Yeah, and then in terms of like the private sector developments. Because I know that the city comes in with regards to TIF funds, is we've got a major housing crisis going around across the nation, in which even the most affordable materials are becoming not so affordable. And what can our city government do, at least in Waukesha, and for our local, like what's in the works there, as far as you know?
Well, I think that this habitat. Development, that's definitely key. I hope to see more things along those lines. I understand that we have a variety of housing needs all over the city, and I do want to make sure that we are aware of all of those needs. I don't want people to be priced out of this amazing community. So obviously these rising costs, rising rent prices, that's a nationwide problem. But I do want to make sure that we're keeping that in mind when we are talking about any sort of new developments, and making sure that there's a balance, because these high-end luxury apartments are great. If you can afford them, that's amazing.
Sure.
I think those are very important for our community, but I also want to make sure that we are keeping in mind some of our residents who maybe can't afford those apartments or can't afford those $400,000, $500,000 homes, because not everybody can, and I want everyone to be able to enjoy this amazing community.
Sounds great. Terrific. And then what's unique about the district you represent is that it's our downtown. It's a historic one. It's one that's really become more active and more eclectic in recent years. And what is your vision for our downtown, and what could you as an alderman do to help us meet that vision?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I love about our downtown is that it's so walkable. There's pretty much everything that you want to do right here. And you don't have to get in a car. I hear people talk about the parking, which I got to do a quick plug for that South Street ramp. There is plenty of parking. But I don't have to park anywhere. I don't even have to get in my car. This morning I was able to walk down to the farmer's market and then walk over here, and later I'm going to walk home. And I love that.
You made a great point, because you were able to purchase a home here in downtown, and prior to that, though, you lived in another housing situation that well, go ahead, tell everybody.
Yeah, so I was in the Horizon West condos. Those are the condos that were evacuated at the beginning of December. It was very unfortunate and tragic, but I did get incredibly lucky. I think, I'm thanking my lucky stars that I was able to find a home very quickly. I was able to purchase a home instead of getting stuck in a rental cycle, and I was able to find something in the district even. Sure. So that was really important to me. But what's unfortunate is that a lot of the residents are still struggling because we still have mortgages. We aren't sure how.
And that's in your district still.
It is. Yeah, it is still in the district. Yeah.
What are you able to do to support their efforts, or what ideas do you have for compelling the city to maybe add as much or additional support if possible?
Sure. Well, there's only so much that the city can do. And I'm not a lawyer, but as far as I know, there really isn't any sort of liability or anything like that on the city.
Sure.
What I think they can do is just try to be as compassionate as possible. I've been there every step of the way with all of my neighbors. when we have meetings, obviously not everyone is still in the area. So I've been helping to facilitate the Zoom aspect of those meetings to make sure that they are accessible even to the people who aren't still around here, which has been, I think very helpful. Yeah. And in the meantime, we do have a lawsuit going on through, against the insurance company to see if there's anything that can happen there. But yeah, it's kind of a waiting game because we don't have the money right now to bring down the building.
Well, and now you have a full plate as Alder.
Yes.
Plenty to do in downtown. And so what about with regards to economic development? Any ideas or things you're working on to add more business and more exciting elements to our downtown?
Yeah, well, there have been a few different proposals. I know that Sky High is looking to expand. So I'm excited to hear more about that project. I think that that's a really great way to encourage that walkability aspect of downtown. If you can live, work, and play all in one place without having to get in your car, that's perfect. And, when I work from home, that's what I get to do. So I would love for, people to be able to work there. Those are going to be good, higher paying jobs as well. So, not just your service industry type jobs, which are, of course, very important. How can you play without those, right? But I love the idea of those, middle class jobs.
Fantastic. So, hey, we're going to go pay some bills, but stick around. We have more to discuss with our new downtown Alder person, Alder Dude, Alicia Halbenslavin. Don't go away. This Week in Waukesha continues. And kudos to Jason. Him and I both got our hair cut this week. We both look fantastic, I think. My spirit gets so downhearted sometimes. So where I'd strong, mountains ring, oh, make the angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing, and you may not know why. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Hey, This Week in Waukesha is back, and that, of course, was the Youngbloods with Get Together, and very timely given everything that's going on in this country between the mindless menace of violence and the disinformation that's just feeding too many things politically. Great to have a young new legislator that's already got a lot of experience having worked for our local Democratic Party, and Alderperson Alicia Halbenslavin, the right honorable gentle person from the 11th District, as I like to say in British politics. But no, everyone knows you're obviously very active in the Democratic Party, and how do you reconcile with that in a nonpartisan role?
So I think that when you are talking about issues that face our community, that face our city, those things aren't partisan. So supporting local business isn't a partisan issue. Making sure that there are enough speed limit signs along your street, that's not Democrat or Republican.
And it can actually be liberating in a way.
Yeah.
So
it absolutely is. So, from a national politics, state politics level, yes, I'm definitely a Democrat. But in terms of being supportive of our community, its citizens, and this city, I'm just a member of the community.
That's it. And you're Waukesha first, right?
Absolutely. Waukesha first. I like that.
Great. Hey, so Alicia is going to tell us about some events coming up here in downtown. But before she does, I wanted to share with everybody that with the Waukesha Unlocked that we're bringing back for the second offering, it was part of our sesquicentennial commemorations last year. Walk Radio Studios, the Mar-a-Lago of the Midwest, the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown, will be a part of Waukesha Unlocked. So this will be part of the tour, one of the places you can take advantage of. You can witness some shows. There'll be some other bits of entertainment and history about our radio heritage in Waukesha. And by that time, too, the resort component of my office should be finished by then. Mike Crudy's working very hard about putting together my nightclub and my the hot tub area and some of the other recreations. I think there's a rooftop pickleball court, I think, is also part of it as well. So it's just really exciting about all the wonderful things going on here at the NAMI building. But with summer coming up, because Waukesha Unlocked is a couple seasons away, now that warm weather's finally arrived, what can we look forward to here in downtown, Alicia?
Yeah, so one of the things that I love most about the 11th District is how many great activities there are, especially in the summer. In Wisconsin, we know that summer, we got to make the most of it. So I just came from the farmer's market. I've got cheese curds in my purse.
I saw that.
And I was able
cheese curds at a Wisconsin farmer's market?
Yeah, it's exactly what you need. And then I was able to check out some of the local music. I'm a huge fan of local music, and my friend Caitlin Pico was playing down there this morning. Speaking of local music, Friday Night Live is about to start up. That's June 3rd. Very exciting.
Who's the first act?
Oh gosh, I don't know. There's always so many people. And they're all always great. So I'd have to look at the lineup.
I do know June 14th is for Tribute Tuesday.
Yes.
It's Fleetwood Mac.
It is Fleetwood Mac.
That's the day before my birthday, so you're all welcome to meet me there to celebrate my birthday, because Fleetwood Mac, the Rumors album in 1977 was one of my favorite albums of all time. And heck, we might even get Jason to come out, take the ride out from Madison to celebrate with us at Cutler Park and enjoy some Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, Jason's got to come out. I mean, I just have to walk across the street, so I have the shortest commute ever.
There you go. So yeah, you can walk drunk and not get as long as you can behave. So
I can listen to it if it's raining. I can just listen from my living room, actually.
Sounds great. So now, in a past life, when I lived and worked in downtown Evanston, my nickname back there was Downtown Donnie Brown. And now that I'm back in downtown, I guess I can use that moniker, although I do like being called Alderman of the Airwaves. And what other names have I given myself? But Downtown Alicia Halbensleben, I don't know, it just doesn't have the ring to it. Like, how do you overcome that? How do you reconcile that?
I think there are too many syllables in my last name for anything to quite work well with that. But that's okay. Alderperson Alicia, that could kind of work.
There you go. Alder A. Double A.
There we go.
So, well, terrific. No, I think it's got to be exciting for the downtown to have, a younger statesperson and also a consumer, loves to take advantage of all the offerings here. And have you had a chance now as Alder to connect with some of the different business owners? I know you know a lot of them already, but has there been much engagement on that level?
Yeah, actually, there has. So I've gotten, a few emails, a few calls from various business owners, either with concerns or with questions about, various things. So yeah, I have. I've engaged with a few business owners. I don't necessarily want to call anybody out because they were, things that were maybe they had some concerns. But, one of the things that is great is that there are so many small businesses in this district. Sure. So I almost feel like I have two constituencies. I have all of my neighbors, but then I also have all of these great businesses that are owned by people who may or may not live in this district.
That's great. Yeah. Now, I know it's not your district, but it affects downtown. Have you had to field many calls about the construction going on St. Paul?
Everybody keeps asking me if I've had any calls or how many calls I've had. I haven't had any. Okay. I'm shocked. I know that the construction can be frustrating. I have to take a different route out of town and into town every time. So I get that it's kind of annoying, but I think that people understand that this is Wisconsin and summer means construction season as well. But I think that people kind of get to that there's good things coming, that when you see those orange barrels, it means that when they're gone, there's going to be something great there in its place. So I'm hoping that that's why I'm not getting a whole lot of calls, because I really haven't. So now I'm probably going to get a bunch of calls now that I said that. But yeah, I haven't heard any complaints.
Sounds terrific. And so do you have mechanisms for your constituents to engage with you? I know they can find your phone number off the website and the city email address. Is there other vehicles you're using to engage with the people in your district? Yeah.
So the phone number that's on the website is my personal phone number. I will say it right now here on the radio too. It's 414-491-4544. Feel free to give me a call anytime. If I don't answer, leave me a message. I will definitely get back to you. You can also email me at the city email address. That's ALDDIST11 at waukesha-wi.gov. And then you can also engage with me on Facebook. So I have Waukesha Alderperson Alicia Halbensleben. I know it's long, but if you just type in a few letters, you can probably find me. So I am on Facebook, and I make sure to kind of post some of the upcoming events and things like that on there.
Terrific. So, and have you started your monthly meetings with the mayor and city administrator?
I have, yes. I've had one meeting with them so far, but it went really well. They've been very helpful in kind of helping me to navigate some of the ins and outs of government and how what my role is in that and how I can best engage both with government and making sure that I'm helping my constituents to the best of my ability.
That sounds great. So, what is your kind of like hot button issue? What's something you'd really like to champion in your new role?
Yeah, so one of the things that I would really love to see, because there's only one thing that I can't walk to, and that's a grocery store. And this is a really long-term goal because I know that there's several key pieces to this that we don't quite have. And a lot of that has to do with economic development. We need to make sure that we have a tax base and the population base that can be supportive of a downtown grocery store.
A pedestrian base, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And I know that that was something that I talked to a lot of people about even before I was elected, and now that I have been elected, it is something that I would like to see happen. But I do know that there's kind of this whole big puzzle that needs to come together before we can make that happen. So I'm going to support anything that I can to make that happen somewhere down the road.
That sounds great. Terrific. And what have you found to be maybe and I know you've only been in there for a month or two, what has been kind of your biggest challenge or obstacle in terms of getting started or moving forward?
I don't know if I really feel like I've had huge challenges.
It's still kind of a honeymoon, I know.
Yeah. I'm like, it's been pretty great, actually. I think, coming in, you're always coming into the middle. So even before I was elected, obviously I was attending council meetings either in person or virtually. And I do encourage actually anybody in the community to take a look, even if you don't watch every week, but those are all accessible online for anybody to check them out and on their schedule. But coming in the middle of just any sort of projects or ordinances that are being proposed, things like that, coming into the middle of the discussion can always be a challenge, but sure. I think I'm handling it pretty well.
Anything coming up on the city docket that's pretty big that people should pay attention to? Just real brief, in the time we have left. Just
I think the puppies, kittens, and rabbits sale ordinance, that's probably the one that's got people the most worked up now. So I would say, pay attention to that. 6 p.m. on Monday at the Ordinance and Licensing Committee
Sounds
again
great.
at City Hall.
Terrific. So, hey, we're really pleased to have Alicia back on the show. We are going to have her on back again. We want to have a show with her and her other new alderperson. That's my successor, Mike Razine from the new District 1. So stick around for that. That should be coming up in future shows in the next month or two. And also want to remind everybody, too, with next Saturday, Memorial Day weekend, please feel free to give us a call on the show and tell us about a loved one that you lost in service to our country, and because we certainly want to remember them. And so downtown 11th District Alderperson Alicia Halbensleben, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day. And to all of you, enjoy this beautiful weekend. And remember, safety is everyone's responsibility. See you next week.